Hi, everybody. So Anya and I are here together again today, and we have a couple of things we really want to talk about. So just to kind of help out everybody and give us some things to think about and ruminate about our own lives. So I'm going to let Anya get started. She's got something brilliant that she came up with and put it on TikTok. So I want to hear about that.
Yeah, thank you, sweetie. And it's nice to be back on and connecting in with you and the beautiful people. I really love being on. There were some beautiful comments on the last video, so I do
Mhm.
appreciate that. And yeah, I think I like to process, and I'm a very vocal person. I don't like the word projector now because it's being used in a toxic way and a negative way, which it can be. But sometimes I am probably what you'd call a projector. I like to project ideas. I like to project and bounce them off people and see what response I get and what energy I get and what feedback and what opinions I get. So when I'm processing through my own journey or my own healing or my own discoveries in consciousness, I like to just bounce them out there, and usually TikTok is a place to do that. And I was obviously experiencing multiple things in my life and questioning, where is the line when you're bringing a constant amount of energy to someone or to something, situation, person, relationship, business partner, any situation? Where is the line when the exchange is not equal? How long and how much do we take of this unbalanced energy before that starts having a significant effect on us in a negative way? Before we start feeling resentment and exhaustion, and then reclusiveness and hyper independence and an inability to ask for help or be vulnerable. There's all these things that come from being in unbalanced situations and not vocalizing our needs and not receiving an equal exchange. So that can be in so many different forms of either like physical, financial exchange, continuously. Obviously, as an energy worker, you'll have experienced it yourself, or you may or may not. A lot of people, when I first started and originally, would always be like, oh, just give us a reading, just do this, just, can you answer this question for me, can you just do a call? And it really sometimes shocks me, because if that was someone making clothing or doing your hair, and or giving you a therapy session, blah blah blah, and it was someone you didn't know, you would never expect them to just give you that time for free. Yet because you know someone, or you think you have a bond and dynamic, people expect this unequal exchange of your time and energy to kind of feed off your light, to make them feel better and to project all their energy onto you. I mean, when they're just messaging without asking, or flooding paragraphs and paragraphs and seeking for advice to where you feel guilty without not replying to that. But then in the same sense, it's draining you, and you're the one that's suffering from that. And I think that's just one example of where the exchange can be unequal in terms of friends and family in a business aspect, and not bringing you the same thing of the value of exchange that they would to a stranger, because you're friends and family, and them expecting that sense of discount because they are a relation like that. I think that's just one form of that, but it can be from anything, and especially when it's in relationships and them sorts of dynamics, it creates resentment, it creates this built up, pent up anger and emotions that will eventually come out in one way or another. And I think it's really important to address that when things are unequal, when the energy exchange is not equal, and someone is receiving more so out of this situation on a continuous basis, there is going to be something that needs to be addressed and brought up about that, because otherwise it's just going to explode, I think.
Yeah, it does explode. And another thing that happens is it's not seen as valuable a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time. So when you're overwhelming yourself with helping, you're also not seen as valuable. What that is not seen as valuable. So it doesn't create equality in any way across the board. And it's a big lesson that we're learning right now. It's a really big lesson that we're learning. And I'm right in there learning with you guys. I think we all have some of those relationships, and it's important to really take a look at them and to be honest. And sometimes that can hurt the feelings of the other person too. But it's important to be aware of it, because in the end, you're maybe doing yourself a disservice and them, because you're basically giving, whereas they could be giving that to themselves and they're not. So
It's like enabling them to stay where they are, and enabling them to choose not to heal, which I think is really important, because I learned that lesson the hard way. The more I tried to fix and heal the people around me, the worse and worse and worse they got. And I was so confused. Like, the more intensely I was trying to fix them and get them back, they just was getting worse. And then, specifically one person, and I took a step back from this person, and then they all of a sudden started to get better. And it were like, oh, how interesting. The one thing that was stopping them from actually getting mentally better was me from enabling them from doing it themselves. So because I was doing all the phone calls and the prep and the, blah, 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 blah for them, it was a sense of not having to do it. So they didn't have to do it. So then because that muscle, if you will, wasn't being challenged or used in the brain, and them senses weren't being used, and that them routines weren't being brought in, and the patterns weren't there, they slowly forgot to use and stopped using all these things that you need as a human to survive. But when someone else is doing it for you, whether it's physical things or emotional things or cleaning or responsibilities in the home or bills or whatever it is, and especially things in business as well, like if you're working as business partners or teammates or as a team, and one person is constantly doing more than the other person but they're receiving the same outcome, there's then going to be a dynamic shift and an energy shift in terms of there's going to be resentment, and there's going to be anger, and there's going to be jealousy and whatever, because the need is not being addressed in terms of who's bringing what and who's receiving what, and nobody's vocalizing that. And I think that's the key there, is it has to be vocalized, or at least addressed within self, to then be able to address it externally, because things don't usually just change on their own. And usually people that are maybe taking more in an exchange relationship that's not equal are not going to be the ones that are going to recognize that and want to necessarily make that change overall. So it usually is the person that is on the other end that's giving that has to put that boundary in place and has to make the choice to not continue in them cycles.
And if they don't, it could just blow up, basically.
Yeah.
Too. That's kind of the thing that I'm seeing right now, is it's just blowing up. And it's really interesting because it's almost every single person. Somebody's got one side of it or the other going on right now. Not with every single relationship, but some kind of relationship in their life. And it could be to do with their job, or their business partner, or whatever it might be. But it's been really interesting to watch, and it's kind of it's obvious that energy is moving through, and it has to be transmuted, and we're basically getting it thrown on our faces. You have to deal with it now, basically. Like, we have to deal with the betrayal and the victimhood right now. And then the worthiness. The worthiness is a part of that too.
It's all connected. It's like the pathway to that, and like you say, it's so easy to slip into victim. Like, it is so easy to do that. And as a human, like, let's all admit it, at some point in his life, it does feel nice to get that sympathy and acknowledgement and recognition. Like, the inner child loves that. The inner child's like, yes, please make me feel better. Especially if we didn't have it as a kid, especially if we didn't have that validation and emotional kind of awareness and support that we did need in childhood, and we didn't receive it. It's even more so cherished in the adult world now. But there has to be a line where, once we've kind of had that for a minute, and once we've sat there and we feel that then it becomes a moment of, okay, you're going to stay there. Are you going to stay in that energy now, with the mental illness, physical illness, circumstance, poverty, whatever it is. And I know that sounds difficult to say from me saying, oh, you're going to choose to stay there, but I've been there, so I can say from a place of complete utter understanding with physical health and mental health and poverty and all the other kind of extremities that you could possibly think of in that sense of deprivation. I have been there, and I know that a lot of the time I did choose to be there because
Right.
it gave me a break, it gave me a time off, freedom. It gave me a chance to feel sorry for myself enough to heal and have that time to do that. And people around me validated that because I was ill in hospital and had this reason to need to heal. So I know why I called them things in, and I know why I chose to experience them, and I know that I chose to experience that. And I think that is the hardest part we do have to swallow, is the thing we do bring these experiences in to make us who we are.
Yeah, we really do. We bring them in because we have to have a change. And we're also learning, like, that's why we choose the parents that we choose. That's, because maybe we need to have a really hard parent so we can be empathic. We choose to be sick so that we can, experience that. It's the poverty, like, you and I have had similar, like, low income, illness, that kind of stuff. I feel like mentally I've always been pretty steady, but I
Not the
don't think
same
I
way.
had those anxieties come up. But also
Yeah.
it has to do with the nervous system. Like, how messed up did the nervous system get during those processes, And
And
as you
mine,
bring your nervous system back, then you don't have it anymore.
exactly. And as you know, honey, mine was not in a good way. My nervous
Oh,
system was like, please give me a break. And
yeah.
that's the thing, we respond differently to the experiences we go through. And, I know people that have been through immense amount of trauma, and yet they don't experience the anxieties or the depression and the overwhelm. And yet for me, it was so difficult to avoid that, because obviously living in that constant state of fight or flight energy survival, it just brought that constant state of panic and
Mhm.
fear and anxiety and manic state of energy. So it is funny how we, not funny, but strange and interesting to observe the ways in which we respond to those experiences, and how our then physical body and nervous system then responds as well.
Yeah. Well, it is funny because we're choosing it as well, and humor and play is how we actually learn faster.
Yeah.
But we take a lot of stuff really, really seriously, and that makes it harder to come through it. Like, it doesn't have to be so hard. One of the favorite expressions of mine is laughter through tears. Like, somebody's just crying and crying, and then you make them laugh about something, and it just changes all of the perspective that was just happening there. And they realize, oh yeah, there is the other side of this, I can get over to the other side.
Yeah, it gives a whole new vibrational energy and a whole new kind of option involved. And
Mhm.
I'm someone that really did struggle on being vulnerable and being in that emotional state around other people. So for me, it's difficult to do that in any way. But I think this is the thing that we're all going through. It's like this weird place to navigate, like being able to express and
Yeah.
articulate and actually know that our feelings are valid. Like, we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to have needs and emotional wants and desires and vulnerabilities that, maybe that we do feel a little bit shy about telling, and we do feel all these different emotions about, but they are worthy and valid. And that's not for someone to tell you that you're being dramatic or too much, or that your
Mhm.
needs are too out of the way, when if that's genuinely how you feel on a soul level, then you're just not with the right people who are honoring that. And
Yeah.
it is about, first of all, being able to identify what your needs are, and then being able to express them, and then observing who and what people are in the right position to be able to, because not that they have to meet them needs, but to be able to honor and respect the boundaries that are put in place for you to meet them needs, because that's what has to change. As we've just said, it's not that we want your partners and your mums and dads and friends to go around fixing each other. Like, that's not what we're saying. But It's about allowing them to do what they need to do in that time, giving them the space, the time, and the support to be able to navigate through that journey and meet those needs within self so that they don't keep repeating the cycles. Or
Yeah.
if that's us, that we don't keep repeating the cycles.
Yeah, we don't want to keep repeating them. And I think that's really the whole purpose of that phrase, I'm going to hold space for you.
Mm.
I will hold space for you to do this or that, because basically what you're doing is giving them like a room or a platform where they can actually go and feel their feelings. And you're saying, you know what, it's okay. And you can do it. I know you can.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for people. And it's
Mhm.
important to start the relationship that way.
Yep.
So if you start a relationship the other way, where one person's dependent on the other, then it's never going to totally work out very well.
No.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be that sense of expectation.
Yeah.
And I think which is a really, really important thing that we have to kind of navigate through is the expectations we create and the expectations that are put upon us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, this relates into the energy exchange as well, because we may do a lot for someone and we may, you know, continuously do that. But does that come that we have then the expectation that they're going to repay that? Or that they're going to be a certain version of them to meet our needs, because then that's not us giving from our heart.
Right.
That's not us giving unconditionally. That's us giving with the expectation of receiving, which is not you know, true giving from a heart level.
Right.
And obviously that changes when it comes to work and employment, and this is what I'm saying. This is why the line is very thin between energy exchange on an equal level and then having that sense of expectation and pressure upon other people just because we're in certain dynamics with each other. And I think, you know, whether it's your parents or children or partners or again business partners, friends, whoever it is, family members, if we know as humans the dynamic of what we've chose to come in this lifetime doesn't necessarily indicate the age of that person. So if you are as a child or someone's child, as an adult even, but as someone's child, an older soul, and your parents are more emotionally immature and less capable of, you know, being emotionally aware of themselves and communicating and expressing each other's emotions and understanding and blah, 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 then that can create this whole sense of anger and frustration and resentment, which obviously so as a human. But what the problem is there is the expectation from the child of the parents to be parents, which again, human, normal. But what we have to do is zoom out and look at it from a soul perspective, that then parents may not be at the same age as that child's soul, that child's soul may be actually far older than them parents' souls, and they're not capable of bringing them the emotional awareness, capability, acceptance, responsibility, because they've not hit their own milestones in their own soul's evolution journey yet. So how can they provide that for you when they haven't provided that for self? So it is kind of a that's the shift for me between looking at things from a human perspective and looking at things from a higher perspective, in knowing that, you know, we can have certain things that we can want from our parents and certain things we can ask for, but we can't expect that they will meet them and do them in the way that we need, because they might not be able to.
Yeah.
You know, and that goes for
Yeah.
anyone in your life.
It does. And we're choosing our own movie, really. I think that's, you know, we've seen all these movies and romance and, you know, all this different kind of stuff. And this is how it works. But really, is that how it works? Or is that how somebody else thinks it works? Or they want you to think it works?
Exactly.
So it really is a constant exploration. And I think that's what we need to start learning how to do for ourselves, is asking what is the best thing for me today?
Yep.
How is this relationship going? Is there something I need to bring up?
Yep.
You know, and basically just kind of continuously checking in with your own guidance so that you can have the best experience. Because that's, and not getting totally distracted, like actually make time for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That was my biggest thing, is I wasn't making enough time for myself. so that I could check in with my own guidance.
Yeah.
I was doing that for a lot of other, people, and I'm still doing it, but not as much as I was,
Yeah.
because I was getting
And
burnt out.
and this is where the boundaries have to come in,
Yeah.
whether we choose to implement them or the universe forces us to implement them. Either way it happens, something has to change, because
Yeah.
we can't continue. Like mine would come in a sense of like overloading and just being completely overloaded, because I was trying to do too much for everyone all at the same time, including myself, but like trying to do it all at one time.
Mhm.
And it's not possible, and that again, that's the expectation of self. So the expectation I had on self was ridiculously high and unachievable, which then led to feeling, disappointed and like failure and not accomplished and blah 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 blah. So it's really important that we check like where boundaries need to be put in place, what expectations we have, and what expectations are being put upon us. And I think, like you said, asking questions like, is this in my highest heart frequency?
Yeah.
What is the true vibration of this relationship, this job, this opportunity, this person? Like, show me your true vibrational frequency is one of my favorites, to just recognize that, because sometimes in that overthinking state, I struggle to get that deep, clear answer. When I'm overwhelmed and I'm stressed, and because we all get in the human. So in times like that, I either sleep, go outside in nature, meditate, put some music on. I try to zoom out of the human mind and experience that's overloading me. And I try to look at it with a more external perspective that I can then bring in the inner knowing, but sometimes it's just a case of sleeping on it and observing it again in the morning with a more new perspective.
Yeah, exactly. So, I want to mention that Anya has a great group of classes that are about to come out, and I will create a very small video at the end of this video that shows what the classes are, and get a little better description for you guys. But this kind of wisdom is what's taking us into the new world. Like, we're creating it, and if you can really absorb this and do it for yourself, it really changes everything. And we're
Mm-hmm.
all learning constantly. So
Definitely.
don't think that we know so much, but we've been practicing for quite a while and we still screw it up.
Yeah,
But it gives you a more solid foundation, when
definitely.
you can be with yourself and figure out how to do it.
Yeah, definitely. That's something I always say, like the stuff don't stop happening, the stress don't just not exist anymore. We still are a spiritual being living a human experience, but what I've learned to navigate is that the way I can deal with that becomes easier. I'm not living out of
Mhm.
fear and out of the root chakra being imbalanced and living in this kind of panic manic state of fight or flight, being in just survival mode. And I think the saddest thing is a lot of us have just lived there for us whole lives, that we just
Yeah.
don't know any different, and I still go to you for support, to my hypnotherapist for support. I work with Trish. I work with so many other people, at the level that we do, and I do all the energy work. But sometimes we need that support and that reflection and that question that's asked, and the way it's asked and the interpreted and the way that we then think about these things is how we help each other. Like you say, it's how we share that wisdom, and I don't think I could do anything else other than doing this and bringing this little magic in, because it's what lights my soul up. And I think that's what you guys have just kind of got to, that's the question now, is what's lighting your soul up, and how do we find the tools and techniques and ways in which we can level to center and to the heart, to then keep moving forward to create what we all want to create, which is a better place to live.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. It is a better place to live. And we have to create it from the inside out. And I think that's something that we forget, because
mm-hmm. We
nothing
get
in front of
reminded.
us, yeah, is real unless we make it real.
Yep. And that was a real big lesson for me in like 2021, when I'd been banging on about the truth and the new earth and did it, and it's all great and well talking about it. But I remember being downloaded a message that was straight into my higher consciousness saying, okay, it's all good and well you're talking about it. Why don't you go and do it? Why don't you stop talking about the plans and what's going to change and actually start creating it. And I thought, right. So from that
Yeah.
point, and then I changed the way I worked and really changed my focus from being someone who was being a seed spreader and awakener and, you know, kind of like a vocal truther, if you will. I don't really like that word, but you know, someone that was spreading a lot of awakening seeds, to someone that was then doing the healing work and doing the actual releasing and the trauma releasing and helping myself and others move from that density to a higher density, so that the earth that we was all banging on about would come into existence. Because if we heal, then the people around us heal, then the people around them heal, then everybody heals, right?
Right. Exactly. So since you brought that up, I am involved in creating a new channel,
Mm-hmm.
and that channel is there, and I will put it below, but it's Create Our Future Now. And
Ooh,
we're
that's
going to do very short videos about all of this kind of stuff. And it's not only going to be spirituality, it's also going to be electric culture and how to deal with gardening and free energy and all that kind of stuff that is coming.
mm-hmm.
And but we have to manifest it to be here. But there's a lot of it that's showing up now. So we might as well just keep it rolling. And that's what I want to do with that new channel. And I think it's going to help people that are not necessarily as aware of what's going on right now, but they can manifest this new world into
Definitely.
existence as well. So,
Exactly. You know, I hear people all the time that say, you know, I'm not doing what you do, so I'm not doing my soul path. And they're teachers and they're working in public service and they're working with cooking food. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, you are doing the light work. You're working with the children, you're working with nourishment, you're working with blessing this food and this energy. And all these roles are so significant and important. And
yep.
just because you might be a specific healer or channeler or what have you, like, we're all stepping into those roles now. And if you feel like you are drawn somewhere for a soul's purpose, then guaranteed, whether it's energy work or not, you will be doing your light work. And I think it's just about having reassurance that we're all placed certain places and locations and you know, people for a reason, for us to spread that light and for us to do that little bit of magic. And if you're drawn to be there, if you feel connected there, then I would definitely say just let yourself shine and let yourself spread that light.
Yeah, absolutely. Let yourself shine.
Definitely.
That's a great,
Definitely.
great note to end on.
It
Thank
is, my
you.
dear.
Thank you,
Thanks, sweet
Anya.
lady.
Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody. So here is the explanation of Anya's class, and it's a 5-week class, and I'm going to actually read to you what the parts of it are, and then I'm just going to show you where it is on the website, and I'll put a link underneath as well. So the first week is calling the inner child home. Week 2 is reconnecting with the inner teen, so your teenager. Week 3 is reflecting on the current self. Week 4 is owning the shadow self. This one's really important because a lot of us have just pushed the shadow away, but that's all of our pain and stuff that we need to actually work through. And then week 5 is attuning to the higher self. So I think this is going to be a great course. And let me show you what it looks like. So here is her course on the website. And then if this thing will let me, this is the about page. So it's basically join us as we navigate through the inner parts of you, as we identify the aspects of you that have been lost and hidden away in order for you to survive. We are calling parts of you home on a multi-dimensional level. So that's what she's doing in this course, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. So I wanted to share that with you guys today. And I will add this to the end of the video that we filmed, I don't know, last week sometime. And I hope she has a really beautiful trip. She's on her way, I think, tomorrow morning to her very first retreat that she has created. So I just think it's fabulous. And I really am excited for the healers that are coming in. and not only coming in, but like stepping up. So anyway, you guys all have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.